You're listening to Power Athlete Radio, a podcast dedicated to empowering your performance every damn day. Join former NFL pro and Power Athlete founder John Welborn as he dissects the greatest minds in strength, conditioning, and more. Joining him is everyone's favorite coach and hair model, Chris, aka Tex McQuilkin, Power Athlete's Director of Performance. So whether your goal is to be the hammer, destroy mediocrity, or simply move the dirt, you've come to the right place. Now with the warm-up done, let the gains begin.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Power Athlete Radio. We got a great one today with James Simpson.
Ex-soldier turned England wheelchair rugby star, Grindstone athlete, and World Cup champion. James joined us in episode 519 way back in July 2021 when he was gearing up for this World Cup, but it was scheduled for back then. So now we got 18 extra months of training that certainly did pay off.
It's amazing to hear him talk about not only maneuvering the cart, but how he uses the training to especially connect with his trunk work to actually make him a more efficient athlete out there on the pitch.
Yeah, so we talk skill, we talk training, and we talk the heart and mind of a champion. It's a great one.
Yeah, no, this is a killer podcast and a great follow-up. So tune in, excited to hear about the World Cup and more importantly, James Simpson. So, I mean, congratulations on winning the Cup. We've been, kind of plugged in on this side. Unfortunately, there's probably not a lot of coverage for it here in the United States, but congratulations. So for those of you guys that don't know, if you'd like to give the people a little introduction on it, and more importantly, I know on our last podcast, we got into a ton on your sport and also with rugby. So, I mean, we showed some clips and whatnot, but man, it's intense to watch.
It's ace that you've been watching it as well. Like the first time in history, we've had all our games televised. And the final we had against France, there was 1.2 million people tuned in to watch, which for us is just absolutely amazing to know it's history for us. But yeah, so we've just had the Rugby League World Cup. First time in history, the men's, the women's and the wheelchair tournaments all ran simultaneously. So 61 games, all televised live on BBC. All the press, the coverage, the participation fees, everything that goes on behind the scenes was equally matched between the three tournaments. So like we did everything the men's team did, the women did the same, and yeah, we stormed through the group stages, semi-final, destroyed Wales, and then came up against France in the final, which if you were a betting man, that's what you'd say the final was going to be. And we beat them, 77th minute, scored the winning try, absolutely jubilant celebrations, years and years and years of hard work and sacrifice put down into an 80-minute kind of battle. But yeah, the Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup, yes, it's the last trophy I had to tick off in my career, and I've done it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Nice. Dude, so give us a little play-by-play. I mean, like you said, the 77th minute, I mean, so the game came down to the very end, but was it a pretty even match up until that point, or how did it go?
Yeah, so we were in Group A down in London, and France were in Group B up in Sheffield, and both of us went undefeated in our group stages, like huge score lines. We both ran away with it, and we knew coming up against each other in the final, we've never beaten France, or France have never beaten us by more than like 2 or 4 points, like an unconverted try or a penalty. So they're always really close games, and we knew this game was going to be won or lost on 2 by 4 points. And there was never a moment we didn't think we could do it in the game. I think it ended 28-26, which is a really healthy low score. But yeah, France got a penalty in the first couple of minutes, and they opted to kick for 2, so they got the 2 points from the penalty goal. And at that point, we were like, "That's fine. That's more of a reflection on our defence, really. If they're having to kick for 2, they're not backing themselves to come at us and run at us or push at us." And then, like, we scored, they scored, the usual kind of tit for tat thing. But by half time, I think it was 14-12 to them. So still going in at half time, we were like, "No, we're 2 points down, but we've got this. The game plan's set. We're sticking it to how we are. It's always 2 or 4 points, always 2 or 4 points." And then we went even 24-24 with 3 minutes to go. And we got the ball back in their half, right on their line. And it wasn't even a spectacular try or a really sexy looking try or anything. It was just a really simple, everyone's tired. We're in the 77th minute. Someone slightly steps the wrong way in the chair, moves the wrong way. Our player sees the gap, boom, straight through. drop of the shoulder, scores under the sticks, and that's 3 minutes to go. And at that point, you've got the conversion. That's a minute. Then they kick off, and then at that point, you're counting. You're like, we get set, they get set. Can we defend a set? Can we hold them out? So you start doing the maths, and then then we got to the 80th minute, and there was 4,500 people there, which is a world record for our sport, just screaming in the last few minutes and like screaming for England, like being the home country as well. It was absolutely amazing. And when that final whistle went, you heard the whole stadium just whoa, and it's inside an arena, obviously, so the sound was just echoing back at you. But yeah, mate, it was years and years, and it's not an understatement of hard work came down to that 80-minute period where it was all on the line. And you knew, like, when that final whistle went, the emotion that just came out of everyone was huge. Like, a lot of grown men crying, then crying again, and then stopping crying and crying again. But yeah, oh, mate, it was incredible. And the game's still on BBC now, so I've watched it back like 10 times. Do you know,
nice.
Like, mate.
Where did you guys play?
So our group stage, we were down in London.
But like, what's the facility? Like I know you guys play kind of on like a hard court, like basketball. Obviously rugby's played on grass. So you guys, but with the wheelchairs, like there's no cutting on grass. So was it like a basketball stadium or?
Yeah. So the group stages was amazing. We played in the Copper Box Arena, which, if you remember back to like the 2012 Olympics and Paralympics, that's where like basketball was, wheelchair basketball. It's where like some of the tennis games were, the inside ones. So it was a huge, specially made arena for the 2012 Paralympics, which was huge over here. And so we were in that, and that's such an iconic venue when you think of indoor sports in England. The Copper Box stands out above anything, and it's part of the World Cup park. So you've got like where all the cycling was, the velodrome, where the aquatic centre for swimming and the athletic stadium. It's all in this one little. It's huge, but this arena area. So you've got all these different sports facilities. So we were in the iconic Copper Box, which was in that, and it was huge to be there. Like in 2012, I went to watch wheelchair basketball there, and that was the start of my journey as a sportsman. I kind of saw wheelchair basketball and was like, I need to get into a wheelchair sport here. I need to be part of a sports team. And then 10 years later, I'm in there playing, representing my country, singing my national anthem, going up against the other best countries in the world. And for me, it was full circle. It was amazing. And they'd done the pitch. So it's indoors, it's a court, but because it's rugby league, we still call it pitch. Some people call it field as well, like, even though it's indoors. But it was all decked out, like the proper lines, the markings, the logos, everything, the BBC cameras. And by the time we got to the final, they'd just hired out this huge, iconic warehouse in the middle of Manchester. And they'd imported 4,500 seats, imported the ground, imported everything, and just built up this indoor stadium just in this warehouse in the middle of one of the oldest cities in the country. Like it cost like 30 grand for them to do, but they did it just for that one night, that one tournament, like the World Cup final. So, mate, I'm used to playing in sports halls in front of 20 people, 30 people. To go out there against 3-4 world record breaking crowds in order, it was absolutely amazing, mind blowing for the sport, for us. Mate, I don't know where. Just tell me it's short, mate, because I will just keep talking about this. It was absolutely incredible, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
No, it sounds amazing. Any technical difficulties? I know that wheelchairs break and like things come apart. Anything happen like that? That's like the like when we were watching the clips. The one that blew me away is just seeing like the wheelchairs explode, and then like the people run out and bring them a new one, and it's like, okay, you get back in your buggy, let's go. It's
the wheels, yeah. So your tires pop. Like your wheelchairs, like my wheelchair costs £5,500. It's the tip of the spear of the wheelchairs. And all the England team have got chairs paid for by sponsors and things, but it's the wheels. So the only thing that can come on and off with these chairs is the wheels. So you get tires that'll pop, you'll get tires that'll bend. So yeah, like in one of the games we were playing Spain, I took a hit and my tire just went boom, and it's like a gunshot going off in this arena, and then straight away someone comes running on with another wheel, pops yours off. Fresh one straight on, pat on the back, off you go. They're the slowest parts of the game. Is when something like the game doesn't stop if you get smashed out of your chair. The game doesn't stop if you fall over or smash the floor. The game stops when someone's tire needs fixing. They're the only breaks in the game, really. The technical stuff. The rest of it, you just get up and go.
Yeah, it's like an indie pit crew.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, they're just like, we have behind the scenes. We have spare wheels piled up, spare tires. We have like a toolbox, like 3 foot tall that goes everywhere with us, that gets wheeled behind us, just full of kit and equipment. And they're all the little 1%ers that go on behind the scenes that you don't see. Just the toolboxes and the spare wheels and the spare tires that get carted with us everywhere we go, mate.
Wow. I mean, you said this journey really started 10 years ago, especially with going and seeing the wheelchair basketball. Since last time we spoke, I mean, this cycle that you've been training for has been what, 4 years?
4 years. So the last World Cup was in 2017. And then this one was supposed to be last year. Then we got delayed for a year with COVID. So it's like a 4 or 5 year cycle, but like really ramped up in the last couple of years, especially last year when we thought the World Cup was going ahead. You couldn't take your eye off the ball with it. And there was only 11 people going to the World Cup. So out of all the athletes in this country, you had to make that 11. So you didn't have the opportunity to drop off because someone else would have taken your spot. And me being 36, I'm one of the older guys in the team as well. So I'm fighting against like 21, 22, 23-year-olds to make the cut for the team, let alone to play in the game. So yeah, the cycle's been 4 or 5 years. Like mostly on with a little bit of off, but especially the past 2 or 3 years, mate, it's been pretty full on.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we connected July 2021 and essentially leading up to that moment, but here we are. But I think the year and a half extra, I mean, did you feel that paid off because you got more training time dialed in?
Hugely. Yeah, so last year we ended up having instead of the World Cup, we had a 2 test match series against the French. So they flew over and we played them twice and we lost both of them. One of them quite badly as well. But we needed to play them to gauge where we needed to be. And if we'd have gone ahead last year, I think they'd have got the better of us in the World Cup. But playing them last year, we learned all the things we needed to work on. And the things we were doing that weren't working, we needed to kind of get rid of them. So the extra year and a half gave us things we needed to work on, things we needed to shift. Like we came out of that test series against France knowing we could get 35% better, where they probably came out thinking we could only get 5% better. So we got better and we got used to the big games and we structured our whole regular season at home. We structured that in such a way so our best athletes were getting big game exposure kind of domestically. So then when we got to the World Cup and we were in the final, we were used to it. We were used to television cameras. We were used to the crowds. We were used to this kind of atmosphere where they weren't used to that as much. So we made sure our best players played in huge games earlier in the year, so we were ready to go out there and face them. But me personally, the extra time it gave me was massive. Like I changed the way I played quite a bit because I'm an older player. I became more of I'd take the early carries and set the game up. So it gave me a chance to change how I play a bit and just to get stronger and change my body type a bit. We do testing every 3 months where we do like VO2 max testing, DEXA scanners, resting heart rates. So we do that. We do blood testing. So you're doing that every 3 months. So you're getting a gauge of where you need to be. So you start learning your ideal body weight and your muscle mass and things like that. So it gave us time to really deep dive into all that. So each player could tailor how they needed to be physically ready for the World Cup. So all that came together with an extra year and a half. Like, yeah, it was. We covered every box.
Is it? I mean, does it come down to strength? Does it come down to conditioning? I mean, capacity. I mean, what separates it? I mean, obviously there's a technical skill associated with, moving the wheelchair and understanding the sport, but like in terms of physical, measurable skills, is it like, the ability to hit the wheels in terms of speed and being able to sprint? Or is it just that, 80 minutes is extremely long to be able to do this and there's no fucking breaks? So now it's like conditioning capacity thing becomes the limiting factor.
You're going to love this. It's power. It's all about power.
Well, that's what I was hoping you were going to say.
Yeah. So the 80 minutes is one thing, but we always say it's about your 2 or 3 first pushes. So you want to push. And then like for me, for example, I move the chair, not using my hands. So you need 3 really strong, really hard, really powerful pushes. So your chair's already in motion. So then your hands are free to catch and receive the ball. So you need that power to boom, boom, boom. And it's not so much you won't push your chair again then unless you make a line break, because chances are someone's going to stop you or you're going to hit another chair. So it's more those first 3 pushes need to be hard and they need to be pushed at max, basically max. So when we do our speed testing, we have everything set up with the lasers every 4 meters, and it's mostly your 1 to 8 meters is what the test. They don't really care about your 20 meter or your 30 meter. It's about those short meter markers. So you need to be at full pelt as you hit that player who's about to hit you the ball. So it's about the conditioning to last 80 minutes. That's not as like concerning in international games. Like for my home club, I'll play like 80 minutes, but then at England, you get interchanged because of the depth. We've got like 11 players or 10 players on match day. So I don't think I played more than 40 minutes a game, so I can play 80. But when you know you're only playing 40, you can focus so much more on the power and things like that, because you know, like, you don't need to have anything in the tank 77 minutes in, because you're going to be off in 40 minutes.
Yeah. How does subbing work in the sport? So in soccer, you get one and then you're out. And then in hockey, lacrosse, we can just exchange real quick. So is that similar, or does the game stop and then you make subs like football?
No, you do it on the move. So as long as you, I don't know how much you know about rugby league, but as long as you're on an onside position, you can come on. So you get behind your team, player off, player on, all like on the fly. Like you do it as quick as you can sometimes, because there's not a break in play. The ball might be in play and there's no break. So suddenly you might literally pull someone off and like, right, you're off, mate, next one on. And someone will go on and replace you. And you can make up to 10 in a game, but nobody makes more than 6, because you can't change your play. You can't take your plays off that much, because you'll lose like your intuition in the game. So you can make up to 10, but you don't really make more than 6.
Is it all sub from midfield, like one zone, one box that you need to sub from, or can you move up and down the sideline so you match where the ball is?
Move up and down, yeah. As long as you're going on behind your team. So what you'll do is, if someone's coming off, you'll replace them when you're in attack, because you can't do it defensively, because then there's going to be a gap. So you'll work your player to the edge. So if they're coming off, you'll be like, switch. So you'll work them to the edge tactically, so they're on the wing. And then when the ball's going up, you'll just yank them off. And as soon as they cross the line, you can go on. But if one of you goes on before the others, like in most sports, you'll get penalised for it. But it's like you can do it anywhere on the field as long as you're behind your team going forward, so you're on side. You can't come on behind the opposition or anything like that. You've got to get behind your guys. And it's all fast. It's free-flowing.
Yeah, that's very cool. I didn't know that. And this is some of the fights that we battle with different sports for power, that we need to train power versus logging the miles, the endurance, because they have something on their belt that says, hey, you covered X amount of kilometers in this match, then we need to go run that. No. We need to sprint, we need power, we need speed, we need those first 3 goes. Like that's some battle we continue to fight with sport coaches, and glad to hear you co-sign, hey, it's all about that 1, 2, 3 push, and then I can get a rest for my next opportunity to.
Well, the other issue is when you're in the chair, especially when they're pushing, it's all concentric. So I remember that was something as I was watching it, I'm thinking like, man, like where's the eccentric load? I mean, you think about
for our listeners, John, that are not tracking on those 3 muscle contractions.
But I mean, think about like when we're doing like assault bike sprints. We use, the air bikes a ton with our athletes. And the reason I like it is because it's so concentric. There's no eccentric load. So we can almost just try to like pin the heart rates and it actually, we're able to get them to recover day to day because there is no eccentric load.
Yeah. And so concentric is the push. It's the power. It's the bench. If I'm bench pressing, it's the bar coming off of my chest. With the wheelchair and the bikes, as John's speaking, there's no coming down force. I don't have to stop and reduce force. Yeah. It's just go, go, go.
Well, so when they're going forward, they drive their hands, but then also you guys have like, they use gloves and like there's braking mechanisms. So they're like constantly, like that was a cool thing, is the change of direction, where it was like, when you see the fucking whole like wheelchair just kind of like move. I mean, it's intense to watch, rightfully so, until we had you on the podcast the first time. I mean, we watched a little bit of it just in prep for it. But then once we get done, I was like, dude, let's watch more of this. And just like, holy shit, dude. Not only are these dudes shooting each other like missiles and trying to knock each other out of the
murder ball.
Yeah. I mean, out of their chairs, but just the ability to be able to, maneuver these things in and out. It's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of like, if you guys were like London taxis trying to fucking jockey in and out of different positions in rush hour traffic.
Like I said before, like when you've the tactics and things that go into it, it's so intricate, especially at the top level. But you'll see, like for me, when I push, I'll get my first few pushes, and it's all my trunk. So I move the chair with my trunk. So all the things I do, like lateral med ball throws and things like that. It's also when I've got the ball in my hand, I can move the whole chair just using my body. And then you don't push the chair unless you get a line break. But 9 times out of 10, my role is just to smash into someone. So I've got the ball, it's to fix someone, then using my body to move my chair to slightly come out and then come back in so I can fix 2 defenders. And then someone with pace and speed who weighs half I do but is a lot faster can come in off of what I do with the ball next and then hit that gap behind. So for me, it's the thing with my hips and my rotations is I can tie 2 people in at once by fixing one and then going out and then putting doubt and then another player coming in. And I can cut back in and I can do all that without using my hands because I've already got the speed, I've already got the power gone. I've got the ball, 2 of them are on me, and then it's just play the ball and then someone's coming on. And then like the power and the pushing is once you've taken your pushes and you've got the ball, there's only 5 of us on the pitch, so you've got to rotate round and then be ready to go again. So that like you get a rest, but the rest is as long as it takes for you to turn around and come back. And then you're off again if you needed. So you might be taking a carry and getting hit, playing the ball, and then you'll go rejoin the edge of the play. So if there's a shift, you're ready to get it and then to kind of to finish it if you need to. So constantly rotating and filling in and getting back in there, and it's all about that initial push and that power.
What would you say the most common injury is? Is it like overuse stuff, hands, arms, elbows, shoulders?
Shoulders. Yeah, shoulders and neck. Like I say to people, it's not the first, second, third hits. It's the 35th and the 40th where you're on the pitch and then you start like cricking your neck and you can feel the whiplash of just getting hit repeatedly. It's the necks that take a hit, but then the shoulders, like your shoulders get like everyone's got rotator cuff injuries. You know, you can see everyone just sat there and they're all going like rolling the shoulders, trying to get it to click and pop. And like when people retire and look back, it's going to be the shoulders where a lot of the problems lie. But actually in game, considering how hard the chairs are hitting and how hard you can get hit and go flying out, you don't really get many injuries. Like you don't get like over my 10 years, all I've done is like dislocating my thumb, a fracture in my forearm, like a hairline fracture, and like really actual injuries. You don't get that many when you think you're going to get a few more from people in metal chairs smashing each other and flying out. But the actual injuries there's not many really.
I think that's a testament to your training on Grindstone. Power athletes, most flexible program.
Well, and it also makes me think of different things we need to incorporate into the program. Like we've been working on like a lot of like lateral type movement, especially we do a bunch of teapots, but even hooking up bands and doing some like banded resisted teapot stuff, which, whenever I write this, especially Grindstone, especially for the trunk, I think of like different athletes that are doing it, you being one of them. And then actually like thinking like, how is James going to execute this one? Like sitting on a bench or sitting there and being able to like use the kettlebell in terms of a teapot and then some of that stuff. But even like the med ball, I mean, that rotation to be able to throw this way it's so underutilized for power development within the, the confines of the internet, but it pays such good dividends, especially for developing athleticism and power.
Yeah. And those 3 planes, as John introduces, that rotation, that's called the transverse plane. And that's one of the most lacked planes of motion in training because, the sagittal plane, that's everything you can do in a squat rack, everything you can do in a doorway, and it's where we're strongest. So athletes
and it makes the
biased.
Sexiest video. If you're going to shoot Instagram,
I don't know. I've seen James whipping around in rotation that ball against the wall.
Well, I like to see that because it's actually athletes doing athletic things in different planes of motion, different spaces in a different environment, which I dig. Just seeing somebody do, hip thrusts for hours in the gym, it's just not really my bag.
I like it. I also admire the frontal plane, which Stu McGill calls the injury prevention plane. That's where injuries come when it's a blindside hit. So if James has got his eyes upfield, up pitch, and then somebody comes from the side, he's strong enough to protect against that lateral force coming in.
Well, that's what happened in the NFL. The majority of injury mechanisms I found for the back were when a guy was blocking a dude, and then he ended up getting loaded from the side or got hit when he wasn't seeing people, and then he gets loaded this way and then comes back. I mean, the amount of back injuries and like hip and weird things that I saw just from that like side to the point where I started incorporating so much lateral frontal plane type movements because I knew that was the injury mechanism I saw over and over again. Guys, hips were here and then they got loaded. And man, that was like dis and a ton of stuff. So
in rugby league, so in the running version of rugby league, like our parent sport, they clamp down on that so much because you're getting your halfbacks, like the two guys controlling the pitch. They'll be putting crossfield kicks in. Someone will just come in and shoulder as they're putting a kick in and just smash those open ribs as they kick the ball. So they've had to step in quite harshly, disciplinary-wise, to be like, if someone's already kicked the ball, even by a fraction of a second, and they're total relaxed, like with one leg in the air, they'll penalise for them because people just started targeting kickers. So they'll kick, and then some big guy will come in and put a shot on the ribs and absolutely destroy someone. And then they'll be like, right, you can't do that because that's going to kill someone.
How does the mechanism for the kick work? I mean, obviously the lower extremities aren't kicking the ball. So, it's kind of a punch.
Yeah, it's a closed fist. It has to be controlled and a closed fist, because if you just wheel along and knock it with your fist, that's a knock-on. You've lost control of the ball, you've knocked it forward, which obviously you can't do in rugby league. So it's got to be a control out the fist. And you can do anything. You can put crossfield kicks in, grubber kicks, you take penalty conversions, you take dropouts, field goals. You can do all that. It's just all a closed fist. So that's... And anything like in the running game of rugby league, as I'd say. So I should really say, so like wheelchair rugby league, we follow all the laws of the game of rugby league as close as we can. So in rugby league, a kick's 2 points. So we do the same. We have a foot-high kicking tee, which comes on and goes next to a wheelchair, and then you use your fist to kick that. Or if you take a kick in field, it's a closed fist, and all your players need to be behind you on side, like you do in the running game. So anything that is in the laws of the game for the running game of rugby league, we've just converted into wheelchairs, and everything's the same that we can do, and it makes it so the fans watching, like these 1.2 million people who turned in to watch that final, if they've never seen it before, they will instantly get it as rugby league. They will instantly recognise the sport, just be it in wheelchairs, because it's what they're used to seeing, but just in metal wheelchairs inside.
One of the talking points we had the last time you were on, episode 519, for listeners if you want to check it out, is you were training solo. You were Grindstone, you were killing it. And did you, over these 18 months, were you able to pull more dudes in because they saw your success on the pitch carry over to get the whole team on training?
Yeah, it was really tricky, those early stages. 2020 into 2021, because of the restrictions we had over here, we were all having to train solo. So I was really lucky that the guy who owns my gym was going in and doing like Zoom classes and things like that, because I train at like a CrossFit place. And I just get there at 6:30 in the morning and train by myself. It's quite tricky, and mentally it's quite tough to get there and do it. And luckily we had like our elite waivers from the government so we could train. And then everyone was training their own little style. But then you could see over time when people, this extra year and a half, we had people, when we finally got together and we could train, you could see things creeping in. So the med balls crept in. The speed of pushing barbells, that crept in a bit more. The idea of like just heavy loads, like slow, and that was kind of dying out a bit. People started getting a shift on, or we'd be doing like 3 heavy reps, weight off, 3 speed reps. The speed was creeping in a bit more as well. So people were starting to realise that lateral movement, but then also the speed of moving, not just shifting the weight. It was like, boom, we'll do 3 heavy. I think it was because of the testing we were doing, like all the DEXA scanning and the O2 maxing and the everything that was coming off the back of that. People realised they needed to be a bit leaner and a bit faster, and what weight they needed to be. So they realised training had to change to fit that, and that's where the speed kind of came in a lot more. And we did a lot of the like your pull and push tests, attached to the computer, so it tells you kind of your max push and pull. So then training kind of tailored around that as well. But yeah, it kind of reps dropped, so people would be doing less reps, heavier, shifting that, and then I can't remember where we cut off, but then the weight would be coming off, and then it'd be just move the barbell as fast as you can to get that extra load from it for the speed, for pushing your wheels. And when you're pushing your chair, like when you watch the games, you're not grabbing your wheels, you're just you're punching the wheel. Mm-hmm. So the power's coming from like a punch motion, not from a grab motion. So anything you're doing with that speed forward, there's no point going slow. It needs to be fast, and it needs to be done with power and with speed. So that definitely crept in a lot with training. And the lateral stuff, people swear by it. And I've been banging that drum for ages, but now people are starting to get on board with the lateral movements. And for me, that's more important than the heavy lifting is being able to be more flexible and adaptive on the pitch, and that's where a lot of those med ball stuff comes from.
So when you actually, it's not a grab on the tire, you guys are just kind of smashing your hand and shooting it forward?
Yeah, exactly. You leant forward and you're kind of punching down. So you're punching, so you're not actually grabbing them. If you are grabbing them, it's more, if you're going to turn, because you're just pushing. There's no like actual grabbing. And when we get people in chairs for the first time, that's how they push. So they'll be really upright with the shoulders, and then they'll be doing little pushes just with their arms instead of putting their whole body from your like trunk all the way up to your shoulders, your whole body into that motion to push the chair. They push very rigid and very high using their hands instead of it's each push isn't, it's everything. Each push starts from your hips all the way up. Like when I get off, it's my ass that hurts because my bum cheeks hurt from moving my chair a lot. So every push you do and every motion is a full body movement. It has to be to generate that power instead of just a shoulder or an arm thing. It comes from, you can feel it right in your legs and when you push down all the way up. And you've got to incorporate that into training by just being adaptive and flexible and being able to move in different planes, because once you get in that chair, you're going to move every direction you can think.
This episode of Power Athlete Radio is powered by Train Heroic, the most immersive strength training app experience on the market.
We've built our online training business by partnering with Train Heroic and helping us deliver all of our world-class training programs like Jack Street, Field Strong, and Grindstone. To learn which Power Athlete training program best suits your goals, head to powerathletehq.com/training.
And if you're a coach looking to build a business with the best tech and training, go to trainheroic.co/powerathletehq. And now back to the show.
Do you feel that the training has made you more connected to, the lower body in terms of like now you're sitting in this chair? And the one thing when you brought it up about the AC joints, like as I saw people push forward, there's like a lot of rotation this way, which looks like just looking at it looks like it hurts my shoulders. But I wonder, yeah, well, no, they're like shooting it forward and there's this kind of motion. I'm like, oh God. But as you've done more of the training and in the chair, like the whole kind of like lower extremity, especially within the trunk, has to feel more connected than it did.
Yeah, it does. It massively does. Because when you're strapped into that chair, every little subtle movement you do will generate a response from the chair. These are £5,500 worth of kit. I don't know what that is over there, but
fucking expensive. Yeah, nobody knows. How much? The chairs are all. Yeah, I mean the chairs are all bitching carbon fiber. I mean they're like tip of the spear. I think you use that word, which is exactly what it is. But like carbon fiber, all these different, space age metals to go in and make these things, and they're super light. I mean, what do they weigh?
A couple of kilograms, probably 5 kilograms max. Some of them, until you put the wheels on, it might be a little bit more. But yeah, so you're so strapped into your chair that you've got to be so in tune with your body to move it. Because I can just sit there totally upright, and I can just push down on my left like hamstring and my left glute, and the chair will move. Because you've got to work all that. Like I think it's maybe earlier on in my career, and people who are getting into wheelchair sports now think it's all your shoulders, so they'll just train that kind of that plane or that strength to just overhead pressing. And overhead pressing is one of the less used things because you're playing this way. You're not going up. You need to be going forwards. And so then, but they'll kind of focus on the heavy lifting stuff instead of being like, no, you need to be able to just dip left and dip right using you like what your lower body or what you've got left of it. If in my case, if you got stepped on a bone, then so you've got to do that. So I do loads of like just seated IDLs and things like that. Just sitting, going forward, getting my lower back, getting my glutes strong. So then when I'm in a chair, I can move the chair without even using my arms. And it's something I do. I'll go to a sports hall and sit at one end and not touch my wheels. I will just start off from scratch using my lower body to move the chair, and then I will move forward. And then before you know it, I'm at pace, and I've got pace there before I'm actually bringing the rest of my body into it. So that's something that I learned quite late on, is you need to be working everything. Right, and that's when my game really started stepping up in the past few years, when I started doing a lot of those kind of lower limb things that I wasn't doing before.
Yeah, wheeling in the chair, that's as much as a skill as it is passing.
Well, is there suspension? I mean, like I'm always geeked out on like the technology piece, but like the way the wheels work. I mean, the fact that you can sit in there and kind of go back and forth this way and actually start generating motion and being able to drive it forward and move it without even touching the wheels. I mean, is there a suspension, or like how does that necessarily happen? Is it within like the confines and the flexing of the metal?
It's mostly just you. So everyone has their chair set up a little bit differently, but there's no suspension. But it's how your chair is. So like I have two anti-tips, well, two front little wheels and a little anti-tip at the back, and I have all mine on the floor when some people have them raised. So because I've got them on the floor, I can just manipulate the wheels to get moving. And as soon as they get moving a little bit, your main wheels go out at angles, so then you can just creep forward, and then that generates its own kind of speed with you the faster you get with it. But there's no suspension in the chairs. It's because a suspension would be like extra weight. So anything extra like that, they get rid of. Like no suspension, no, like even two anti-tips is too much. So you have one, so you can cut down on a whole wheel weight. It's all just you. It's just you and being in tune with your body and being so strapped in and one with that chair that you can move it yourself using just your hips.
We need like the Lance Armstrong. You know how he had the little motor. Did you ever see this? Lance Armstrong that came out that he had a little motor in his bike seat. Like whenever he would go take off, he would like touch the seat. And what they figured out, or they're claiming, is that there was like a small little motor in the down tube that would assist him like 1% to 2%, which allowed him to be able to go. So I'm wondering if I was like, dude, maybe we get some little motors in there, just touch them and shoot.
No, James is world champion. We don't need to start juicing.
No, I think you give it to everybody. That way you get like a button where you get superpowers.
Like Super Mario Kart?
Exactly.
No.
All of a sudden they're going like superpower.
No, because then it becomes like Fast and the Furious and who's got the bigger nos. We want it to be about the athlete and empowering their performance through sound, training, and mind. James, key you picked up on, you need to be in tune with your body. So learning how to maneuver and manipulate the chair, that can be accelerated through training. So the more in tune you are with your body, and that's the thing that we preach with the barbell, with the training style that we have that focuses on athleticism, is coordination. Strength is coordination. Speed is coordination. So the more coordination that we can develop within the training and the weight room, the more coachable, the more dynamic, the more teachable athlete that we have in there to then step into a new sport like you did and have success quicker.
Yeah, I coach at my home club, and one of the big things I kind of stress is nobody here is just here to be like a body on the pitch. I want you all to get the best out of you we can. And I kind of go right back. When I get new people in chairs, I make obstacle courses and things like that out of things. So I'll put chicanes and I'll put like T-drills and things. I'll do that, but for wheelchairs. So I'll have people running different, like, what's the way to describe it? Like different routes and things in wheelchairs, so they have to adapt to what they can see in front of them. So I'll have players running around cones, pushing, but rugby league, so I just say running without thinking, and then turning right or one way, and then having to go through cones and then sprint. So I'll do a lot of things like that, which makes them have to get in tune with their wheelchairs and makes them have to adapt to how they're doing things. So my philosophy is before we even start playing the game, I want you to be so adaptable and flexible in your chair that whatever situation I can then put you in on the field, you know how to adapt to it or whatever's in front of you. So I'm a big believer in getting people in chairs, and before you even bring the ball in, you master that first, or not master it, but have an understanding of it where you can put a ball in and the chair bit's gone. You don't have to worry about that. If you can get to a point where subconsciously you're moving the chair and adapting to things in front of you without even thinking about it, then you give a ball. The only thing you're going to think about is the ball, and it is the team in front of you, and it is the tactics and things. For me, that's my approach. Is I want players to be so comfortable in the chairs that when you face them in opposition, they're only thinking about the opposition. They're not thinking about the bit of kit they've got. So outside the gym, just as much time, if not more time, goes into moving the chair. Like it goes into the sprints and a lot of the sprints and back. So defensively, from watching the game, is when the opposition plays the ball, you have to push up 4 meters to shut them down, make a tackle, turn around, come back 4 meters to get onside, straight back up again to make another tackle. And you're doing that 5-6 times. So you have to be able to push up as hard as you can with the power you've generated to make that hit, turn around, come back, and be ready to go again. And you have to be so reactive doing that. You have to be able to do it without thinking. Like, as soon as you turn around, what's in front of you is then you've got all your team next to you. You all have to be pushing up together in sync, turning the same way. And any slight deviation from that, you leave space or you leave an opportunity for the opposition. So you have to be so adaptable to what's going on in front of you, but at the same time within a team, defensively, that's one of my beliefs is we get you to that point where you're working that chair without thinking about it. Then we get the ball. Then we start thinking the game tactics and the deeper things. But I want people to be so comfortable in those chairs that I can put them in any situation and they can react to it subconsciously, knowing that they've got the skills to deal with it.
How many hours do you believe? Have you guys ever charted it? I mean, like, there's the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours to mastery.
Whoa. Anders Ericsson.
Oh, sorry.
We're Team Ericsson over here.
But it was Malcolm Gladwell.
That popularized
it. I understand.
Anderson, Power Athlete Radio alum, episode 298 or something. I don't know. I have to Google it, but keep going.
Keep raining on my parade. But do you think that there's a set number of hours or opportunities to be in the chair? I mean, there's probably no way to chart it, but it feels like if you brought somebody in, it's going to have to be years of just,
It would be years. And I play for Leeds, and I can't remember if I said it in the last podcast, but I started playing 10 years ago. And then at Leeds, so Leeds Rhinos, we lost every game we played for 3 years, every game. And then the same group of players we've got, give or take one or two. And then we made 2 finals and lost them both. And then we won a final. Then we won another final. Then we won 2 finals. And then last year we won everything. And this year we have 4 players in the England setup and a player in the Welsh setup. So that there really is 10 years from us losing every single game we played to 4 of us playing for our home nation and winning a World Cup. So that would be hard to put into a generation, but it's a good marker of it took us 5 years to win our first final. And then, the progression we've been on as a team has been crazy, and the players have been there doing it all together. So we've learned how to lose, we've learned how to win, we've learned how to learn from everything we've done, and we've learned how to do it as a team as well, which has built us really close. And then we've shifted that into the international stage where, like, as you know, every second matters, every 1% matters. So interesting. It would be. I'd love to know how long it took to. Maybe I'll do it.
So how many hours a day are you in the chair?
Probably less, but it's so we were doing a lot of, because the England team is spread out all over the country. It'd be, if we weren't playing on a weekend, we'd be together. And when you're doing the weekend training sessions, that's 6 hours a day for 2 days, roughly 4 to 6 hours. And during the week, you're probably up at about, spread over the week, you're up at 6 hours in your chair, really, maybe more, Monday to Friday. Then you've got your S&C on top of that, your conditioning on top of that, because there's only a certain amount of time you can be in a chair before you go past the point of being beneficial. Mm-hmm. You can get people in chairs, and you can, I think we said this last time, you can frag them up and down all day, but you're not actually getting anything out of it. And I kind of said in the last podcast, I would rather people get on ski ergs to do conditioning. So you're doing it, you're getting sprints, you're getting intervals, you're working yourself that way. And then when you're in a chair, we're focusing on drills, reps, we're focusing on gameplay, we're focusing on things that are a bit less intense. Yes, we will have intensity, but we'll have the intensity and then we'll dial it back a bit and then go again.
So what this is called is
deliberate practice.
Deliberate practice, but you're also not using the implement that is associated with your sport-specific training as your conditioning tool. So what you're doing is you're looking at GPP as a base and really the foundation, and you're using movements that are not identical or that are similar but not identical with like the same median. It's kind of like playing football, or let's say playing rugby, and you're only using the drill or like the game to get in shape for your position or for the demands, instead of looking at like drills and training and finding other ways to train that aren't taking away from the skill set. Because a lot of times it's, we saw this within CrossFit, where you had people using barbells, let's say snatch, clean, and jerk, which is, really for a 1 RM in terms of Olympic weightlifting, but then adding 30, 50, 100 reps at a light weight and then using that as a conditioning tool for something that was specific to a sport. And so, it makes a ton of sense. Like you almost have to protect the sport-specific environment and not overload it, and find other ways to train that support it, not just putting more time and more reps into the chair.
Exactly. And when in the international camps, like and this is not disrespectful to the rest of the players, but when we're in the international camps, we're all of the same level, the same ilk, the same mindset, the same willingness to kind of to do that 4-hour session, that 6 hours, well, 2-hour field sessions or something. Whereas when you're at your home club, you have to, like me as one of the coaches there, I have to be thinking about my players can't focus for that long because we're a domestic club at this level. So I have to tailor the sessions and things to. It's almost like you go on too long, people will get silly. I know it's a bit of a childish word, but silly. People will start putting shots on people or flipping people over or trying to play kick tennis or things like that. So then you've got to tailor the session to fit them. So like you can do your own training afterwards, but then you've only got a limit time you can get in the sports hall. And then there's a cost as well to that. Like we can't just go to a field and run around. So domestically, you will get a lot less out of it compared to when we're at England and we're playing internationally, because as soon as we go in that door at England, you are with the same players with majority of the same mindset as you. And we have the kit and equipment and the staff to deal with it, where during the week domestically, you have to dial it back a bit. And that's where I find I can get the most out of the players by covering certain things and then getting them to train. I kind of say to some of the guys, if you're not fit enough to come here, you need to be doing that in your own time. Like here, we're here to train and we're here to play wheelchair rugby league. You guys need to be hitting the gym in your own time. We ain't got time for that here. We can't spend 20 minutes doing conditioning. When that's 20 minutes, if we're playing in the game this weekend, I need that 20 minutes to cover our new defensive systems or our attacking shape. We're going to structure to this team. So that time has to be used for in the chair stuff before people get silly. It's like throwing balls at each other and trying to get rugby balls in basketball hoops and things like that. That's see every week.
Wow. What's the biggest challenge you feel that now that you're taking on coaching? Because you have leadership experience in the military, and then your teammates, you've been playing with each other for a decade. You know the ins and the outs of each other. Your communications is on point, but now you're leading others in the sport. What's the biggest challenge that you feel you're facing now as a coach?
It's not a challenge I've got now, but I think if I decide to move more into the coaching, and I have to have a real sit down over December and think about where I want to go, like with my career now. I've played 10 years. I've played with some amazing people all around the world. I mean, I've played in Australia, I've played in France. So I need to have a real think about what I want to do with my career now, whether I want to keep playing or not play internationally, etc. So I need to have a think. But if I decide to go more down the coaching route, which is something I'm passionate about as well, it would be something I would think about. I don't know if it become an issue, is coaching people you've played with. Like that would be one where I'm like, do you dial back the banter? Do you know what I mean? And so you step more into the coaching role, so you kind of step away from not the friendship route, but do you just leave a few things out where you're like, oh, people are going out now, like, I'll give this one a miss, I'll go earlier than early. So I don't know. It's more how am I going to approach that?
I think you go Pete Rose style. I think you go Pete Rose where he's a playing manager.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, like I don't know if you know American baseball, but Pete Rose, who's still one of my favorite baseball players, but he actually ended up, not getting in the Hall of Fame because he actually bet on himself, which, I'm not mad at anybody. I mean, I know there's a bunch of like negatives of betting on sports, but the fact that Pete Rose bet on himself to win, and
there's successful player coaches also. Bill Russell basketball won NBA championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I faced that problem because I was a grad student for my college team. So that became my friends, my teammates, and now they were my athletes. And I had my head coach at the time gave me a talking to because I guess he felt a few months into it I was still too chummy, and made the decision I'm not going to go to the bars with these guys. If they come to the bar, like I'm going to leave. I'll take the high road there and give them their playing time opportunity. But then I was still a team captain, so they still respected me. I just took away there was still the fun, the banter, and the training with them. I just took away the party side of things.
Yeah, like the guys I play with are absolutely awesome guys, and I love them to pieces, and that's But luckily I'm 36, and most of them are like in the mid-20s. So when they're like, whoa, we're going to go hit the club, I can be like, no, mate, I'm going to bed.
You're like sitting at a bar at like 3 a.m, slugging back drinks does not sound like a good time to me.
No, well, we went out after we won the final. So that finished like 10 o'clock at night. And then it basically started then, like the after party. And then it didn't finish till Saturday morning at about 4 or 5 in the morning. That second night, right, we got back to the hotel, and there were like the second night, I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I can't do 2 nights on anymore. Like, on top of that, I had like years of not drinking really, apart from the odd thing here and there. And it was like loads of the younger players like, yeah, we're going to go to this place now. And I'm like, I'm just going to go and sit in the hotel bar and go to bed because I am done.
Shit.
Yeah, I can't do the 2 nights. But yeah, that's. But I'm really passionate about, and something that's come off the back of this tournament is the amount of people who are going to start playing the game now. Like last week, I took part in some like open sessions from our domestic club, and we had nearly 50 people come and play in shares over 4 nights. And even if not all of them come back, if a handful of them come back, that can be the next generation of international players and superstars. So I'm really passionate about coaching the team at a high level, the guys who are going out for trophies. And there's an expectation on Leeds Rhinos every year to get a trophy. But I'm just as passionate about these new players turning up who might have the same journey I had, who might have watched us play on live TV, and then 10 years later, those players might be playing for England in that venue. And if I can have an impact on coaching them and bringing them on, even just at the early stages, then that, for me, I care as much about that as I do about winning a trophy as well. So, it's for me that it's going to be coaching the guys for the trophies, but also the 10, 11, 13-year-old who are coming in for the first time, who might have a disability or something, and they're a bit nervous about it, about coming into this world. And I want to be the guy there to be like, don't worry, mate, we'll get the best out of you. This is a safe environment. We want you to come. We want you to play. We want you to be able to tell your friends. We want you to be able to come and have fun. But then at the same time, coach the guys going out there every week who are going to be playing on the big screen and the big stage. So I want to kind of put a lot of effort into both them equally.
Sounds amazing.
That's empowering performance.
I think before you make any decisions, I think you gotta like get away, decompress from it, and then you got to go back and start training and see how you feel, because it might be a little too early to hang up. I was going to say the cleats, but I mean hang up the tires or whatever you call. But no, I think you get away from it and you start feeling it, and then you kind of get back into training and see how you feel. I know that happened to me towards the end of my NFL career, where all of a sudden you're like, I still got it, and then all of a sudden you're in training and you're like, I don't think I got it. So, and then maybe you got to make a different decision. But I do have some we've been tested a bunch of conditioning protocols with our fighters that as we've been talking, I want to send you to see how you would test them, and more importantly, see if we could work to create some monster capacity for your guys and see if we could test it that way.
Yeah, that'd be ace. Over winter last year, so I turned up so I only weigh 62 kilograms because I'm like 2/3 of a person. But when we turned up in January last year for all our like DEXA scanning and stuff, I was like 64 kilograms because over winter last year I just got like bulking, not sulking. And then I did all my DEXA scanner stuff, and the guy was like, you need to lose 2 kilograms. I was like, do you know how hard it was for me to get them? So then I spent about 3 weeks just on the ski erg, like every other day, just shifting 2 kilograms of weight to get back to my fighting weight. And that was a dark time of just being like, right, on the ski erg, intervals, let's go, let's drop that time. So I do love conditioning, but there's no escape from the ski erg.
That's pretty wild that they've got it down to such a interesting science that they know that, hey, this almost weight, combined weight to speed, that they can kind of look at it and say, hey, you know what, you're faster at 2 kilograms less. And I mean, it's pretty amazing they've taken the science that far.
It's great, and it's all like we signed up to like one of the universities here, which is right near me, Leeds Beckett. They work with the men's and the women's teams. They work with the whole like England Rugby League setup. So all the staff at the uni know everything about it. So the one weekend they're working with the men's teams, then the women's are in, and then we're in. So they're not only using us and our information, they're using it across all 3 like England teams, so they can dip in and out of all the information they need to cover it. And a lot of that stuff filters down to us as well, being like the third tier of the setup really. But these guys are very smart, and they can harvest the information they learn in the other 2 teams and then filter it down to us as well. And yeah, it's great. So we sometimes train there with the men and the women's team. So you're all in there together, which makes you feel like hugely part of it. Like we're not just the England wheelchair team. We are the England team, not the England women's team either. We are all the England team. It's amazing.
Okay, my last question. Is the trophy, the World Cup trophy, like a giant mug that you're able to drink out of once you win it?
Like the Stanley Cup?
Like the Stanley Cup?
They have screwed the lid on to stop people doing that. Yeah.
I'm sure your boys
the
are
fun
rambunctious
police.
enough that they can break that off.
The stories of the Stanley Cup are epic. I always thought that like the NFL should do. Everybody should have something like that where all the players get to take it home and do stupid shit with it.
Yeah.
And then did they lose the Stanley Cup for like 5 years and then they found it in like a florist shop?
That's definitely not.
Dude, it's a pretty amazing story on the Stanley Cup. No, that's killer. Dude, you guys, where does it get displayed?
Does everybody get to keep it for like a week?
Oh, we've got it. Yeah, it's doing the rounds. So another thing that's amazing, like this journey for me, this absolutely incredible journey is that the backlash of us being like live on TV and the fans and everything's coming through. So like we had players go down to the Houses of Parliament last week to do like a thing down there. We've got the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award next week where the whole team's been invited. And we've got dinners and do's and events and everything that's coming up now. So we're taking the trophy to all these with us. We were at the UK Coaching Awards 2 nights ago. So the trophy is just going up and down the country to different events at the moment. And every time it goes up, someone else has to take responsibility for this like 45 grand trophy we've got. And it just comes and stays in someone's house and then like our hotel room, and then it goes to the next place. So whatever unit of players we've got who are doing something at the moment, the trophy goes with them. So yeah, the trophy is to getting a good tour of the country.
How much does it weigh?
I don't know, a lot. Like takes two. Yeah. So like it takes 2 of you, if you're going to hold it for pictures or something, it takes one either side and then it'll get heavy quite fast. I don't know. It's probably about 15, 20, probably about 20. But that's just for a trophy. Like, yeah.
Yeah, James, we're going to need you some Power Athlete gear, just curling it. Yeah, we're going to need a video.
We're going to need some funny pictures. So, I mean, obviously you have your fucking IndyCar wheelchairs. I mean, do you use like what does it look like for you to get around in town on like normal every day? Do you have something similar or?
I use my prosthetics. So I wear my prosthetic legs most of the time. So I don't really use a wheelchair outside my sport, which is another reason why when I'm in my chair training, I really want to focus on the training because I'm not getting. So some of our players who are full-time wheelchair users, they when they jump in a sports chair, it's very natural to them as well. Like they're in the chair most of the time. Where for me, I use prosthetic legs to get around. So when I'm actually in my chair training, that's why I really cherish the time I'm in it to get the most out of it, because I'm not in a chair most of the time. I'm walking around on my prosthetic legs.
Wow.
But the whole team's full of people like that. The whole team is such a mixture of abilities and disabilities. We have guys who have spinal injuries who are always in chairs, amputees like myself and like Seb, who's missing a foot, who's from a motorbike accident. So the team's just a mixed bag. It's like the Dirty Dozen of just weird injuries and things like that. And everyone's got like a little story and a journey of how they ended up playing through an injury or a motorbike crash, or for me, getting injured in Afghanistan. So it's a mixed bag of people who have ended up there.
Okay, last final question. You're well versed in the Power Athlete vernacular. What does move the dirt mean to you, James?
Yeah, what do you want, a short answer or a long answer? For me, it's focus. And that's my short answer. It's focus. You have to be so focused, and under that, it's the dedication, the training, the diet, the nutrition, everything that comes with it, all comes through that focus. Like moving the dirt for me has been so focused on your game and your like sport that you are moving the dirt in all those different ways to get to where you want to be. It's all about the focus on the sport and doing what you need to do in front of you.
Hell yeah, James. Well, we're celebrating right alongside you, dude, and we can't wait to see where your journey takes you next, man. Keep us posted and keep training, dude.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, and I'll shoot you an email. I got some cool training protocols that I'd love to test for you guys. I think we could do some really amazing stuff.
Cool.
Well, cool,
all
dude.
right, James.
Yeah, dude.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.